Teacher, when are you going to post your Ghibli studio photo? Or why you haven't posted that on your Instagram, on your stories? What are you even talking about? Maybe some of you might be thinking. So, good day, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Teacher Emilio podcast. On episode 115, we will talk a bit about the Studio Ghibli AI controversy and how this is blowing up on social media, on the internet, and my take on the subject. I hope that you find this interesting. And I thought, look, before just making this video or episode, I should say a whole rant and just me talking about this. First, I thought, look, maybe let me just try to organize my ideas. And I've got a few notes over here. I also said, look, let me just check because maybe it might be Emilio overreacting. You just never know. So I said, let me just ask on social media. Let's see what people on Instagram have to say. Let me check with you guys, with my followers, maybe people that watch the podcast, that listen to the podcast, that engage with me, basically friends, former students, family, etc. So the first thing I did is to put a poll, and I basically asked my audience if they had someone already who had posted a picture on the Studio Ghibli type of animation, right? And then the second one was no, I don't have anyone. And then the last one was, Emilio, I don't know what you're talking about. Interestingly enough, out of all respondents, I have a 50% for yes. Someone in the last probably 48 hours has been seeing people, or has basically seen how somebody has posted their Studio Ghibli portrait, photo, picture, etc. 40% said no, I am not the only one who has not appeared on their feed. Other of the people that they know, followers, friends, people that they follow basically, have not posted anything about Studio Ghibli. And then we have 10% who've got no idea, right? Then, this really got me thinking, because it is quite an interesting thing, because I am not an artist. Let me start by saying that. So a part of me thinks that maybe this whole situation with going into ChatGPT, or basically, let's say, an AI, because I don't want to make this about how terrible ChatGPT is. Maybe other AI models do this and I am not aware of that. And maybe I don't know about that, right? And I said, okay, look, what is the problem? Is that I get the feeling, or like my gut feeling was telling me this just doesn't seem right. And I'll just leave it at that for a minute. Then I said, let me do a bit of research. Let me see if there is other people that are basically coming here on different platforms on the internet who agree with me. And funny enough, like maybe you might have seen, or in case you haven't, I'll tell you that there is this video going around of Mr. Hayao Miyazaki, who is the co-founder of Studio Ghibli, the man who basically put probably, let's say, his life into making that type of art, and basically saying that he completely disagrees with the idea of having AI into his workflow, right? It'll be hard finding the link for the interview. I'll do my best to see if that can be put in the show notes, or here on YouTube or on Instagram. But the point being is that the man himself was not, let's say, happy with his work being replicated, which, if you think about it, quick note, it makes a lot of sense. Just to give you one example, and this is a little bit a different form of art, but I remember going to watch a comedian, Russell Peters, and before any comedy show, or at least this one, and the same thing happened when I watched Kevin Hart, is that you are told to put your phone away, to don't record the whole thing, because it is like disrespectful to the artist, right? It's just not cool. People pay for the ticket to go to see a show, and then someone records it and puts it online. Obviously, it's not good, right? So a part of me thought maybe it could be similar to that, right? Someone is copying this person's work, and I mean, you probably don't have to be an artist to basically look at any of the Studio Ghibli's movies and just go and think, wow, that's unique, that's very colorful. There is incredible attention to detail, which is extremely, let's say, but I should say it is quite predominant in anything to do with like Japan or Japanese culture. For those of you who also maybe have studied Japanese like me, or maybe who have been to Japan, you know that the attention to detail, it's incredible. And if you watch any Studio Ghibli's movie, any of those movies, you would probably notice that in terms of like facial expressions. Even like I watched a clip of one of the movies, I think it was Spirited Away, or I could be wrong which one it was, but the point is like the bento box. It's crazy because the bento box, like the rice, the salad, everything, how they make those drawings, it really looks like real life drawings, and probably that takes a bunch of time to make, right? And then all of a sudden the AI copies that. But let me first tell you, before getting into all these examples and what I think about this, I already mentioned a part of it, but I will just say that I get a feeling, I mean, my gut feeling told me that this seems wrong, right? But before telling you what I think, I thought it would be good to basically put here, or let's say it will be good with all of you to share what, you know, followers, that people that interact with me, what you guys have to say. Basically, some people said to me that first comment, it goes, people copy this trend and know nothing about Studio Ghibli, which could be both good and bad, because one argument could be, hey, I mean, yeah, people use this and they don't know anything about Studio Ghibli, but now, because of the trend, everyone knows about it, which could be good, right? But I'll touch up on that later on in just a second. Next comment. We are too comfortable using AI or any other trend, and I think we're getting nowhere. Next one says, it's so lame, it goes against everything that Miyazaki stands for. You know, the one who made this type of style. Then someone asked me, why do you think this is not cool? I'll do my best to answer that throughout this episode. Then, interesting comment, and one that might be, you know, I guess part of the reason why my gut feeling said this is not right. It was from an artist. Thank you so much for supporting us artists. And basically it is, it gets really tricky, right? That's what some people said. Then I had the argument for, let's say, using this AI or for using this trend. Or basically an argument, let's say, against what I'm saying, because I believe, I mean, I think it's not cool to be posting your photos that way, right? So that's my take. But I guess another part of it could be what other people believe, right? Or like, let's say, the other side of the argument. So some people said, look, it's just a trend, and most people don't know what Studio Ghibli is, and these tendencies happen everywhere. Some examples could be when we had like doing push-ups for mental health, or doing like putting cold water on the head. Another one that comes to mind is like the ice bucket challenge, which I think was to raise awareness for some conditions. And a lot of celebrities were doing that. That was quite a trend a few years ago. Well, 10 years ago. And then next part is that people shouldn't get angry about this. It is bad about the person. Maybe that's also bad on my take on how I translated that. But part of the next comment is that, I mean, someone said to me, Emilio, but you are not like directly a friend of Studio Ghibli. It's like a company, etc. So that's not a big thing. Maybe if somebody copied me, right? If someone copied teacher Emilio using AI, then I wouldn't like it, because it is clear that I am being copied. And I guess that is part of this is when I said to this person, like, we may disagree, but we agree on that, right? I think we could almost all say if I see someone copying a person that I know, and in this case the copy is using an AI, then I wouldn't like it, right? And this person said the same thing. Then, but there is also a fact that maybe this could show awareness so that more people know about Japanese art, right? That is an argument there. Then it could be like, hey, but these guys, Studio Ghibli, they're getting free marketing. And maybe a lot of people didn't know about this Japanese studio, but now they know about it. Maybe people will now go and watch the movies, etc. And it could be true. Something that I found on a bit of research was before continuing, before I don't want to like forget this, is that it could be free marketing for Studio Ghibli. But I guess a counter argument to that is, what about these big companies? I think some of them are like McDonald's, Burger King, and some big companies, corporations, right? Or basically companies that have used this artwork. They have jumped on this trend for free because you're just going on ChatGPT and you put that, and this is people who can pay designers, who can pay for any copyright claims, etc. And they're getting a bunch of money just copying. I don't know. A part of me feels like there's something there that just doesn't seem right. And the same thing could be said to people that are not part of a big corporation, who just even have a following on social media. Maybe, I have seen people promoting products, services, just the same way that I say courses for IELTS PTE. I could have uploaded a photo of me with a whiteboard, or even like with this background, and be like, give me a Studio Ghibli artwork, and then put IELTS PTE, English teacher. And probably it would have looked nice, but a part of me thought that's just, I don't know, part of me feels like it is not right. And then again, what about people that are profiting from that? I guess, again, it falls, or like part of me thinks that this is just like copying someone's art. And I guess another counter argument, or like another thing that I would say, or that I would, bring out in terms of my opinion, is that I get a feeling that a lot of the people who don't know anything about Ghibli Studio or any of the movies, basically, I seriously doubt that they would pay for that art, especially now that this trend happened. I just gave you the example of me, having that art style. That would probably be quite expensive, I guess. It is not going to be like, oh, let me just go and pay $10 someone so that they can draw me in that type of art or like that style. Because as I said, I don't know, about 10 minutes ago, it took Hayao Miyazaki over 40 years, like let's say half of his life, if not his whole life, to develop that style. And maybe someone listening might go, Emilio, come on, man, you're exaggerating, taking all his life, what do you know about it? And maybe, and I haven't been sitting down going through his whole story, but I can tell you from people that I know, from friends, like people that are nowhere near as big as him, who have devoted hours and hours and hours, basically their life, for making art quickly. One of my best friends, when I was in Japan in 2023, I remember seeing how this friend would basically just look at a temple and take out a notepad and just make such an incredible drawing in less than 5 minutes. And maybe for some of you that may or may not be impressive, and that's okay. For me, it is beyond mind-blowing, because I grew up seeing this friend from age 6 to 18, before I left Venezuela, seeing how this person every single week, whenever there was some time left to practice, this person would work on the craft, on polishing all the writing skills, taking extra lessons, studying design, etc. So then it's like, it's crazy, and it's crazy scary to think. Obviously it sounds like, oh wow, it's really productive, the AI could do it like this, but at the same time, it is not considering how much work is put into making that, for Hayao Miyazaki, it took him his whole life to create that style, and then it's taking us no time to go on ChatGPT, give me this, or going into any AI, give me this type of art. I don't know, that doesn't feel right. And I'll give you another example where I really think, I mean, when I think about this next example I'll give you, a part of me goes, yeah, it's just not cool. And I guess like people would tell me off or tell other people off if this happened, but I mean, that also includes another topic. But before I tell you that, another comment was, Emilio, don't just post it because you're not an otaku, or basically saying that I shouldn't hate on others that are following this trend because they don't love anime, they're not an otaku like me, that I love shows. I mean, God, look, I mean, half of my bookshelf now is full of manga, but this is also another example of something that I want to bring up. And it's not like, oh, you need to be a Japan fan, you need to have been to Japan a few times, you need to have watched all the movies. That's not what I'm saying. And this person was telling me, Emilio, you shouldn't hate on people who are following the trend just because they don't like Japan or they don't know a lot about it. And that's true. I think that's not necessarily the main argument I've got. And it was also like, you shouldn't, or like not you shouldn't, but like protecting a brand you don't know. I mean, is that really necessary? And I guess the answer is no, but the thing is that, I mean, this is happening with like a big company. I mean, who knows who's next? And I think I might be overthinking this, but let's imagine, I remember asking friends, like, have you asked an artist to create that style for you? And a lot of people said no. Well, sorry, not a lot of people, sorry. I was told, I asked a few artists and everyone said no. And I suppose part of the reason people said no is because it's, one, really hard to make those drawings. It's really hard to, let's say, replicate, to copy. And or two, maybe it's just because it's not, there isn't, let's say, that demand. Not necessarily the demand, sorry. But I mean, it could even be the skills, or it could be that it's very expensive. That could be another thing. So these are also some, let's say, counter arguments. Now let me just give you a few ideas that really got me thinking about this, and let me start with that example that I mentioned a second ago, that is like very, that people would be, you know, like quite, let's say, angry, maybe even I could say angry, or people wouldn't be happy about it. I'm gonna use an example, you know, more related to Australia. So here we go. Imagine if I were to just go into ChatGPT and I just take a screenshot of any Aboriginal artwork and I just say, please make me a drawing, same thing, a drawing with me, put Aboriginal artwork into it, give it a nice style representing Australian Aboriginal art, and then all of a sudden the AI, boom, makes up, let's say, a version of me with that Aboriginal style. Or not even with me. It could even just be, I suppose, I put the photo of a landscape, or I just don't even put a photo of a landscape. I just get that same screenshot and I say, make something Aboriginal, Australia, and then the AI will drop me something. Then I guess the problem is, and again, this is where it depends on what people say. By the way, feel free to drop me a comment, feel free to get in touch, because I'm really interested in what you guys have to say as well. We can keep this discussion going. There might be a part 2, God knows. And basically, let's say that we do that, then I remember from going to Uluru that, I mean, say for example, an Aboriginal art of that size, of this drawing here, sorry, not drawing, this noten behind me here, basically it would be at a minimum between $800 and $1,500, like handmade, made by an Aboriginal person, you know, that you get it there, and then it's not like you printed something and you posted and you pasted it in a tote bag or in a t-shirt or something. It is like handmade, just like what you see here behind me, and the real thing would be crazy expensive. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe these Studio Ghibli photos, maybe they cost minimum God knows, let's say $100, maybe $200. And then now that this trend happened, I guess my question would be, or like I would wonder, how many people of those following the trend would actually pay an artist, who would actually pay someone who, let's say, that could do it or get extremely close to it. And then how many people would, let's say, engage in that? My answer is not many. And the problem is that it could indirectly be affecting artists. Then I mentioned already the issue that other companies are using this for marketing and basically profiting, getting, increasing sales, let's say. And Studio Ghibli is not getting something directly out of this, which is really weird because if you think about it, when, for example, when I put the intro music on this podcast, when I put the background music, I mean, everything has to be protected / covered by copyright, but all the photos that are being used, I mean, it's like everyone is free to use them, right? I mean, now even people on OpenAI said like it is basically breaking the internet. It is like not necessarily affecting them, but it's like pushing their systems to the limit with all this trend. And then I think they're like blocking the trend. Basically, like if people ask for that, it's being blocked. Like, give me a Studio Ghibli photo, you cannot get it, or maybe you have to like work your way around it, and it's way more difficult. So yes, I think that it is not necessarily that you have to be an otaku or anything along those lines. As I just said a second ago, with Aboriginal art, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be nice. At least that's what I've seen here in Victoria, or in Melbourne, right? That we think, that we basically are very multicultural. So I wonder what would happen if, this trend is used in other forms of art. And I think that, I assume that with, for example, Aboriginal art in particular, people wouldn't be happy about that. And it is tricky. I suppose that a part of me also doesn't want to engage in that, as cool as it may be or look. It's also because I guess it's a form of respecting the artist, because I know that, I mean, he just doesn't like that. And as I was saying, with the same Aboriginal art example, like I've seen people in Melbourne who have basically told me or explained this whole situation, saying, yeah, like it's not cool that someone basically just takes a photo or takes a copy of an Aboriginal drawing and basically stamps that on a bottle, and then there is no benefit, or there is, let's say, or let's just say that in no shape or form an Aboriginal community or person is, let's say, part of that process. It just doesn't make much sense. And I wish that if there is like that clearer link, then that would be different. I know that there are some businesses who basically put things about Aboriginal art, etc., and it says there like, we contacted this community, etc., etc. Or I even remember, I mean, this is, I mean, on Aboriginal art, a bit different topic, but I remember when I was visiting Mexico that in some little towns they would tell you like, this cotton or this material, it's very expensive, and they would tell you it's not a tourist trap. Maybe it is, but they would say, I mean, I remember seeing that on the cover and talking to the people at the store, and they say, look, this is more expensive because we are not sending this to a factory. We basically connect with or contact, I should say, the indigenous communities. We get to work with them, and we pay them a fair price for all the hours, all the hard work it takes to make all these pieces of clothing or whatever it is, any handcraft that they make. So yes, I guess it's a form of showing respect in that sense, and I again, I get a feeling that it could be in some way affecting an artist. Say for example, the logo of my podcast. I paid 2 artists to come up with it, and to me it feels wrong that someone is putting time and effort, and then I just basically grab that photo and then I just put it into ChatGPT or any AI for that matter, and then basically make a new logo. I don't know, it feels like really dodgy to me. It's like it just doesn't feel right. And then that person is basically not working, even when when that happened, like when I changed my logo, I remember people saying, sorry, people being really positive, like, "Oh, Emilio, we like your new logo. We like that energy and everything." And this is something that a person made, which is again what makes it extra special. And I'm happy with my logo because it was made by someone that I know, a young artist, someone who's um, let's say starting out and just about to finish up uni. So then thinking about the fact that this could so easily be copied, I don't know. I just doesn't feel right to me. I think I've said that like 100 times on this episode. Look, another thing that really got me thinking is the example of the mangas that I have behind me. All this manga. On a similar note, I get a feeling that basically using or copying the AI for these photos is like when there are all these manga websites that you can watch it for free, or anime websites where you can watch anime for free. This is something that I'm sure you all know or have heard about, or sorry, have heard of. And the problem with that is that it definitely affects the artists, and it has a negative, it could have a negative let's say effect on a manga show or the artist. And again, just to give you one simple example, there are shows that could simply stop going on air because of this. Obviously there are like other factors, but one could be that because of piracy, because of plagiarism, then there might not be enough funds to do this. And one example could be the fact that, let's say, with One Piece and the live action, right, which is on Netflix. I haven't watched it, so I cannot recommend it, but a lot of people have watched it, and it seems to be a promising live action. As you can see, probably here next to me, I really, really like One Piece, and it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite anime and manga, right? And thinking about the live action with Netflix, right? You have to pay for the Netflix subscription so that you can watch it, right? But what if all of a sudden everyone, or like, let's say plagiarism / privacy goes through the roof and everybody finds a way, or like, let's say many people, like this trend, find a way to watch the live action for free? Then what could happen is that Netflix says, hey, look, now with all this piracy, we are not doing season 2, or we are not going to continue this show because it's not being, basically it's not profitable to the point that we can, pay for the set, get everyone, pay the actors and actresses what they are supposed to get paid. We can't because we're not profitable. Everyone is just, engaging with piracy, or in this case, it could be using AI or plagiarism, however you want to call it. And I don't know, it's tricky. And as I'm telling you all this, I also don't want to pretend to come here and be like, oh, I am Mr. Perfect and I've never used any of those websites, because maybe someone watching or listening may come and tell me, oh, Emilio, but have you... So are you saying that you have never watched anime from like a free website, or have you never read any manga from like all these websites that give it to you for free? And look, the answer is yes, I have done it, but I have tried seriously for like the past, I would say easily 5 to 10 years to don't engage in doing that. And that also means watching less anime, or that means reading less manga. But at least I know I have that peace of mind that at least whatever I buy, it's in some shape or form supporting the show. Because following that analogy, I want the show to continue, right? Let's say even with, obviously One Piece is the biggest, like the best-selling manga of all time, but I would love to see the One Piece anime and manga continuing. So I would do everything I can to support the show, and probably the easiest way to do it is to don't engage in any way that could, let's say, lead to plagiarism or any of the things that we're talking about, and I can just buy the manga, right? Maybe it means that I cannot support all the shows that I would like to watch or read, or maybe it means that I have to wait to, then do that. But to me, it's as simple as that. And maybe, you're watching this and you go, oh, Emilio, you're exaggerating and all that. But look, there are lots of shows in terms of anime and manga, for example, that have stopped their production. And one reason could be that. Maybe practices like this. I'm not saying it is the one and only, but I would rather not engage in a practice that basically is going to affect a show that I like. And another example of all this thing going with the Ghibli studio thing, and like how, I guess, I just thought of sharing with you a success story of an artist, and I guess the implications of doing something like this could have on this business. So right here I have some examples of some stickers that I really like, again also from One Piece, and this is a brand called B-Side Label. This started in Japan from someone making stickers on the street. I think it was in Tokyo or Osaka. And then, like from having a small business or from just making stickers at home and selling them, the whole thing grew into being the business that it is now, that it even ships internationally. But I mean, obviously all these images have got, or let's say I suppose they must be subject to some form of copyright, and it's not like they can just do whatever sticker they want. They basically engage with local artists from Japan, I think with international artists as well. So the point I'm trying to make is these guys that have got this business, it is not like, oh, let's just get all the coolest anime characters, or let's just get all these cool, landmarks from Japan. Let's make a sticker, sell it for a profit, and that's it. I mean, I'm sure that they must have engaged in some shape or form with, the creators of such art, because otherwise that could be a big problem. And another friend mentioned to me something quite interesting, and it was like, it's not even about the fact that people do the trend, it's about the fact that the trend becomes so mainstream that it becomes boring. And then, quoting here this friend, this person said basically, you know what, I just don't care about your Studio Ghibli photo. I just don't care where you went, or your trip, or the activity, or whatever thing you were doing. I mean, it's just becoming so repetitive. It loses importance. It's like everyone is doing it. I mean, and I can, a part of me can see that why people might think that. I mean, to be honest, a part of me agrees with that a bit, but it's not the main thing that that gets me to disagree with all this. Let's say with this whole AI situation. Another thing that I see, and this is not necessarily the name for it, but I've called it in my notes the Michael Jackson effect. And this is coming from someone who's not a Michael Jackson fan, so hear me out when I say Michael Jackson effect. Basically, it is this, let's say, idea of people being part of a trend or people following something, and they know completely nothing about it, and they may never know anything about it. And I'm not saying again that they have to be an expert and they have to learn Japanese and they have to be otakus and the whole lot. No, but at least it would be nice to have people that engaged with the Studio Ghibli thing, and then seeing how maybe they are a bit more interested in Japan or Japanese culture for that matter. Maybe it's really hard to measure that. But when I say Michael Jackson effect, basically, if we go back to when he passed away, I don't know if this happened to you. Also, let me know in the comments. I would like to know if this is something that only I experienced, because before watching other people's videos about this, a part of me thought, am I the only guy who thinks that this is not cool? Because seriously, my Instagram story feed, it was, let's say 7 or 8 out of 10 stories were the Studio Ghibli photos, and I thought that's just not cool. And this is coming from, I'm super biased. I love Japan. But I thought that's just not cool. And anyways, what I'm trying to say is that when I mentioned the Michael Jackson effect, was that basically when he passed away, lots of people that I knew, or let's say lots of people that I knew, or people that were basically online on Facebook or different social media platforms, they would be like writing this super long text saying, "Oh my God, the king of pop died. Michael Jackson, what an inspiration. I will miss you, this and that." And then a part of me, like I said, this is based on my experience. I'm not saying that every Michael Jackson fan is like this. I'm not saying that everyone who wrote something about him when he passed away is like this. But then a part of me is like, bro, what are you talking about? You never listened to him. You barely, I mean, I think you only know Thriller. And you know, you were saying that he was a pedophile and this and that. 5 years ago he passed away, or 10, I don't even know, when, you know, he was on the news for all the allegations against kids and this and that. But now that he passed away, now you love Michael Jackson and, oh my God, the king of pop, and he changed your life, but you've never listened to him, or like, you know, one or two songs about him. So I guess that's the thing that gets me a bit with the Ghibli thing. And I guess I could be getting into the line of, oh, you're just gonna be part of the trend. You know nothing about Ghibli. You know nothing about Japan. You have never watched a movie, nor you will. But and you're just doing it because it's cool. It feels a bit strange to me in that sense. Obviously, you know, it is important to also say that out of all this trend, I am sure that there might be people who like Studio Ghibli. But on the flip side, I also think that maybe people who like Studio Ghibli will not engage in this because of the respect that they have to Hayao Miyazaki's work, and or the respect that they have for all those movies, I should say, or for all that basically that represents for them. And it is tricky, but as I said, look, in close to 40 minutes, I get a feeling that, I mean, that would summarize what I think it's wrong with these practices. Obviously, you will not see me posting my Studio Ghibli photo, as cool as it might look like, as nice as it may be, because I don't know. Again, my gut feeling tells me this is not right, this is not cool. Does that mean that I hate people for doing that? No, but I just hope that maybe this episode can raise awareness, because I get a feeling that this could affect people indirectly. And I don't know, it's just a very, very fine line when it comes to things with AI. And again, going back to what this person said, that if my work was copied, that person wouldn't like it. So I feel it's the same way. It is just that it's at a different scale. I mean, and if we flip the script a little bit, if this is with Disney, I mean, I imagine there would be like a copyright, or like Disney would start saying that it can't be done, you know? With all the drama recently, with all the Disney movies being, with the remakes and this and that, or basically thinking of like Mickey Mouse and like all the drawings, let's say, or like those drawings that are super iconic, like Studio Ghibli, but on a different, let's say, setting, it would be like, oh, no, copyright, we shouldn't do that, or that's not allowed. But maybe but copying some companies, maybe it's okay, but maybe copying other companies is not okay. I mean, I'm not suggesting that it would be good that there is a new trend where Disney, or maybe, I don't know, another big company or another big, let's say, producer studio is copied. It's more like there should be some more control as to how this is managed, because again, there might be negative repercussions, negative effects that we may not experience or be able to see. And again, there is also those who like AI art. I haven't, let's say, tried to use it much, and it's tricky, because I suppose that maybe some people just want to have that type of art. Maybe there could be like a disclaimer that it is made by AI or something along those lines. And I'll probably finish on that note. I think I've covered everything. Let me just have a very quick look here at my notes. That's not very professional of me, but still, it is just to double check. Yeah, look, I think I've basically covered most of the things that I wanted to say. I guess one last thing though that I didn't mention is, again, the argument, not even argument, or the fact that people might watch this or listen to me thinking, oh, Mr. Perfect, you are claiming that you only buy manga, for example, or you only, you try to only do the right thing. And it's like, look, I'm not putting myself out here on the internet to be like I am perfect and I've never done something bad, but at least I'm trying to basically, put my grain of salt to get this issue fixed, or like to improve a bad situation that could be affecting others. And as I said repeatedly throughout the video, big thank you. I still think it's not cool. It will be interesting to hear what you guys think, so feel free to drop me a comment. Feel free to send me a direct message. There might be a part 2. As of now, we know that OpenAI has publicly said that it is like blocking this, and obviously Hayao Miyazaki is completely against this whole thing, and it is interesting to see what else will happen. I think Studio Ghibli has already issued like a letter or a warning, so there might be a part 2. Do let me know what you think, and big thank you for joining me on this episode of the Teacher Emilio podcast. Maybe not as cheerful, maybe more like a rant. I don't know. I'm really grateful to have you here with me. Big thank you for listening to me. Special thank you if you were like me, in the sense that you're listening to this going, oh, there is someone else who agrees with me, because I'm not part of the trend, and it is tricky, or it's hard sometimes when there is a trend and everyone is doing one thing, but then you do a completely different thing. And this is probably not I don't want to, let's say, mention too much about what I do. I mean, you obviously know that I'm a teacher. I help with IELTS and PTE. I already mentioned that, but it's almost like not doing like what the trend does. Like everyone, or like the majority of people online say, oh, just learn this template, just do this, just say this, and just do this, and you're gonna get a full score. What I'm doing is doing the complete opposite and telling people, polish your skills, work on your pronunciation, improve your English skills. If your English is better, your test scores will be better, and work on that. Work on improving yourself. So I'm basically going completely against what, let's say the trend, or what most people are doing. Anyways, with all that said, sending you all a big hug, and I'll definitely see you in the next episode. Let's see. I mean, it's been episodes that are usually about 2 weeks apart. Maybe I might see you sooner than later for this one. Again, thank you for being with me. And anyways, bye for now. Take care.